Hey everyone, ready to supercharge those communication skills?
I love that supercharge.
Well, get ready because we're diving deep into how to improve your communication skills. And let me tell you, it's packed with some real gems.
Yeah, I was surprised by how many things I thought I knew, but this guide really, flipped the script.
Totally. Like right off the bat, they hit you with this idea. Communication is a two-way street.
Right, it seems obvious.
But honestly, how often are we just waiting to talk instead of really listening?
It's true, it's all about getting our point across, you know?
We're broadcasting instead of connecting.
Exactly, and that's the whole point, right?
Liking that real connection.
That's what this guide's all about. It really digs into how we can become better listeners.
Active listeners, not just like nodding along.
Yeah, active listening is a whole other level. It's about being present, not just with the words, but, the emotions behind them.
Reading between the lines, picking up on those cues. I was reading this study, and it said that people who are good at active listening, they're seen as more trustworthy, which makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. When someone really listens to us, we feel closer to them.
Like they get us.
Yeah, and the guide had this awesome tip about paraphrasing. It sounds so simple, but it's powerful.
So you mean repeating back what they said to make sure you understand?
Yeah, but it's more than that. It's reflecting back, their meaning, how they feel. You could say, it sounds like you're pretty frustrated with this.
Oh, I see. So it's not just the words, it's the feeling behind them.
Right, you're really trying to get where they're coming from. And you can even reflect their body language. You're saying you're fine, but you seem tense. Anything else you want to share?
Whoa, that's some next level listening right there.
Right. But let's talk about the elephant in the room. Body language. We've all heard that most communication is nonverbal, but this guide really breaks down how much we're saying without even speaking.
What are some things people do without realizing it?
Oh, posture's a big one. Slouching, it makes you seem uninterested, almost disrespectful. Think about it. If someone's slouched over while you're talking, how does that make you feel?
Like they don't really care what I'm saying?
Exactly. But if they're sitting up straight, shoulders back, it shows they're engaged, they're confident.
Makes sense. What about eye contact? Some people get so uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, there's a sweet spot, right? Too much and you're staring them down, too little and you seem shifty. The guide says aim for a few seconds at a time, then naturally look away.
Oh, that's good advice. And I bet things like fidgeting or crossing your arms send the wrong message too.
Definitely. Fidgeting makes you look nervous, and crossing your arms can seem defensive. The guide even has a whole section on hand gestures.
So it's not just our words, it's how we hold ourselves, our whole presence.
Yeah, our bodies are speaking a language all the time. Now, shifting gears a bit, clarity. The guide really stresses that in a world with so much information, clarity is king.
Oh, for sure. It's like a breath of fresh air when someone's clear and concise. But it's not always easy, is it?
It takes practice, yeah. But the guide has some great tips. Being concise is a big one. Think about those conversations that just ramble on forever, you totally zone out.
Oh my gosh, yes. I've been in those. Just get to the point.
Right. Value the other person's time. The guide says, think about your core message before you even start talking. What's the one thing you want to convey?
Oh, that's helpful. Create a roadmap for your message.
Exactly. And ditch the jargon. It might sound smart, but it can also be super alienating.
Totally. I've been on the receiving end of that jargon overload. It's like they're speaking a different language.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? It creates a barrier. The guide really pushes for a clear, simple language that everyone can grasp.
So clarity is about conciseness, ditching the jargon, and being aware of who you're talking to.
Exactly. It's like tailoring your message to the situation. Now, ready for another communication superpower?
Hit me with it. I'm all about leveling up my skills.
Okay, this one's all about asking the right questions. Open-ended questions.
You mean questions you can't just answer with a yes or no?
Yep. The guide explains how these questions, they unlock deeper conversations. Instead of asking, did you have a good day? You ask, what was the best part of your day? It's a subtle shift, but so powerful.
Oh, I see. The first one is just a one-word answer. The second one makes them really think.
Exactly. And the guide gives a bunch of examples on how to rephrase common questions to make them open-ended.
That's pretty cool. It's like turning a boring conversation into something way more interesting.
Right. And the guide actually has this fun challenge. Try using only open-ended questions for a whole day. See how your interactions change.
Oh, might have to try that. It's amazing how just changing how you ask things can change the whole conversation.
It's true. Okay, now let's get to the heart of it all. Empathy. The guide calls it, get this, the glue that strengthens relationships.
I love that. It really is like the invisible thread connecting us. But what does being empathetic actually mean?
The guide defines it as being able to understand and share the feelings of another person, stepping into their shoes, even if you don't agree with them.
Listening without judgment, trying to see their perspective.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean you have to condone their behavior. Like, you can disagree with a friend's choice, but still understand why they feel that way.
Right. It's about understanding, not necessarily agreeing. Something we can all get better at.
Absolutely. Now, brace yourself. We got to talk about something that makes people squirm. Feedback.
Ugh, feedback, it's tricky. We all need it, but it's hard to give and receive well.
This guide has some solid tips on making it more constructive, less, scary. One big thing is to frame it as a gift, a chance to grow.
Oh, I like that, taking the sting out of it.
Right. And they have this sandwich method, starting with a positive, then the improvement area, then ending on a positive again.
A compliment sandwich. I love that.
Exactly. And when you're receiving feedback, they say, listen actively, don't get defensive, ask questions if you need to.
Get the most out of it, even if it's not delivered perfectly.
Right. And here's a pro tip from me. Don't wait, ask for feedback. It shows you're eager to learn.
That's a great point. Shows initiative. Okay, this guide wraps up with 3 things: practice, authenticity, and adaptation.
3 powerful tools.
Practice makes sense. We got to put in the work. But what about the other 2?
Well, authenticity is about being yourself, communicating genuinely. It builds trust when people see the real you.
So, not putting on an act, just being you.
Right. People can spot fakeness a mile away.
Okay. And adaptation.
That's about being flexible, changing your style depending on who you're talking to. Like, you wouldn't talk to your boss the same way you talk to your best friend.
That makes sense. It's like being aware of the situation and adjusting accordingly.
Exactly. Effective communication is all about that.
Wow, this guide is seriously packed with good stuff. But I feel like this is just the beginning of our journey, right?
You know it. In part 2, we're taking these skills and seeing how to use them in real life. Difficult conversations, persuasion, all that good stuff.
Can't wait. Make sure you tune in for part 2. We're diving even deeper into the world of communication.
Welcome back. Time to put those communication skills to the test.
I'm all about getting practical. So real life situations.
You got it. Let's start with conflict, something everyone deals with. Remember, active listening, it's crucial, especially when things get heated.
Yeah, because it's so easy to just react defensively.
Exactly. Active listening helps you take a step back, understand where they're coming from, and respond instead of reacting.
You keep a cool head.
Right. And paraphrasing, that comes in handy big time. Imagine someone's upset about, let's say, a project going wrong. Instead of, well, you did this, try. It sounds like you're really frustrated because you had a different idea.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that changes everything. You're acknowledging their feelings instead of pointing fingers.
And don't forget about your body language. It can either escalate things or calm them down.
So, no getting in their face, right?
Not exactly the best approach. The guide says think open posture, relaxed arms, even a slight head tilt to show you're listening. It signals you're open to hearing them out.
Like your body's saying, let's work this out. Okay, conflict handled. What of the workplace? Clarity's got to be huge there.
It's huge. It's the foundation for any good team. When everyone's clear on what's going on, projects run smoother.
But there's so much room for miscommunication, especially with all the jargon and technical stuff.
Right, and that's where adapting your language comes in. The guide gives this example. You're explaining a marketing campaign to the finance team. You wouldn't use all the same buzzwords you would with your fellow marketers.
You'd have to break it down into terms everyone understands. Focus on the budget, the ROI.
Exactly. Clarity is key for presentations and emails too. Clear headings, bullet points, concise language. No one wants to read a novel just to find the main point.
Less is more, for sure. Okay, I'm curious about open-ended questions at work. Doesn't it feel risky to not just, give direct instructions?
Well, there's a time for both. But open-ended questions are great for brainstorming. Imagine asking your team, what are the biggest roadblocks on this project? Instead of, can we meet this deadline?
Well, that's a good one. The first question really gets people thinking and might even reveal problems you didn't know about.
Exactly. It encourages everyone to participate, makes them feel valued, and when you're giving feedback, Open-ended questions can help someone come up with their own solutions.
Instead of just telling them what they did wrong.
Right. And let's not forget empathy in the workplace. It's not about being, a pushover. It's about understanding what your colleagues are going through, their different styles.
Recognizing that everyone has their own stuff going on, even if you can't see it.
Exactly. The guide gives this scenario. A coworker keeps missing deadlines. Instead of assuming they're lazy, you ask, "Hey, I noticed you've been having trouble meeting deadlines. Is there anything going on affecting your work?"
That opens the door for a real conversation. Maybe they're overwhelmed, maybe they need help, maybe something's going on at home.
Empathy lets you understand before you judge. And speaking of judgment, it's a big roadblock when it comes to feedback.
No one likes feeling attacked.
Remember that feedback sandwich? Start with something genuine and positive, address the issue specifically, and end with encouragement.
So instead of "your presentation was boring," it's "I love the visuals in your presentation, but I felt like the pacing was a bit slow, some points got lost. I know you're great at engaging an audience, so maybe think about bringing more energy next time."
Perfect example. You're being specific, offering solutions, and reminding them of their strengths.
It feels collaborative, not like a lecture.
Right. Now, authenticity at work. A lot of people think they have to fit a certain mold to be professional.
But doesn't that stifle creativity?
It totally does. This guide says authenticity builds trust. People connect with you on a real level.
Of course, it's not about being, unprofessional or oversharing.
Right, there's a line. It's about being yourself within the boundaries of your job. And finally, adaptation. In the workplace, you're dealing with people from all different backgrounds, departments, levels of experience.
So you can't use the same communication style with everyone.
Exactly. The guide says, think of yourself as a communication chameleon. Adjust your tone, your language, depending on who you're talking to.
So you'd talk to your boss differently than you'd talk to, say, a colleague you've known for years?
Exactly. And a team meeting would be different than a one-on-one with someone you supervise.
It's like having a communication toolbox, picking the right tool for the job.
And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. But don't worry, we're going even deeper.
Wait, there's more. This is intense.
Oh yeah. In part 3, we're tackling the communication challenges everyone avoids. Difficult conversations.
Ooh, those are never fun, but definitely important.
We'll break it down, give you the tools to handle them with confidence and grace. Stay tuned for the final part of our communication deep dive.
All right, we've climbed the communication mountain, learned all the basics, but I think we saved the toughest boss fight for last. Difficult conversations. Those we need to talk moments, the confrontation.
The ones that make you want to just disappear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as much as we'd love to avoid them, they're part of life. And this guide actually says, mastering these conversations can make your relationships even stronger.
It's like you got to go through it to get to the other side,
So how do we, face these conversations without getting totally burned?
Well, the guide reminds us that all those skills we've been talking about, active listening, empathy, clarity, they're even more important when things get tough.
So let's say you have to give someone, really tough feedback, maybe a coworker who's not pulling their weight. How do you do that with empathy, but still, be honest?
It's a tough one. The guide says, start by acknowledging the good stuff they do. I appreciate you taking on those tough projects. Then you can bring up the issue, focusing on what they're doing, not who they are.
So instead of "you're always late," it's "I've noticed you've missed a few deadlines lately."
Right. And then offer support. Is there anything I can do to help you manage your workload?
Shows you're on their side. Okay. What about when it's personal? Like a fight with your partner, things are getting really emotional.
Oh, those are the hardest. Our buttons get pushed so easily when it's someone we care about. The guide says, stay calm, even if they're not.
Don't mirror their anger, basically.
Exactly. And paraphrasing can really help here. I hear you saying you feel hurt by what I did. Is that right?
Oh, that's good. Shows you're trying to get where they're coming from. What about body language in those moments? I bet it's super important.
For sure. Keep a calm posture. No crossed arms or pointing fingers.
Yep.
You want to show you're open, even though it's tough.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
And sometimes silence is okay. Let everyone take a breath, process things.
That's hard for me. I always want to fill the silence. But sometimes it's better to just pause.
And when you do talk, choose your words carefully. The guide says clarity is key, especially when emotions are high. No sarcasm or beating around the bush.
Just be straightforward.
But respectful, yeah. And those open-ended questions, they're really useful here too. Instead of blaming, ask questions that help them share their side.
Like, what made you feel that way? Or how can we work this out?
Exactly. And don't forget about empathy. Even if you don't agree with them, try to see their perspective.
Validate how they feel,
Yeah.
even if you don't like what they did.
Right. And remember what we said about feedback. Focus on specific actions, not sweeping judgments.
I noticed you didn't finish that task. Not, you're responsible.
Exactly. And when you're receiving feedback, try not to get defensive. Listen, ask questions, see if you can learn from it.
Take out good stuff, even if it's hard to hear.
Right. And the thing is, even the toughest conversations, if you handle them right, they can actually make things better.
So be prepared, be present, be open, even when it's uncomfortable.
And remember, it's not about winning. It's about finding a solution that works for everyone.
Well, I think we officially summited Mount Communication. Learned all the skills, fought all the boss battles.
But the journey's never really over, is it? This guide makes it clear, communication, it's something you work on your whole life.
Always learning, always growing, adapting to whatever comes our way.
Keep practicing, keep those conversations going, no matter how tough they get. And hey, maybe one day those difficult conversations won't feel so difficult after all.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into communication skills. We hope you walked away with some tools to boost your communication game. Remember, it's the key to better relationships, solving problems, and achieving your goals.
So